2, 3, 4.
I really don't know.
Yeah, okay.
Well, in 1944, when the war broke out, I was in Budapest learning upholstering. And April 44, I was mobilized to the Hungarian work. I was mobilized to the Hungarian munkaszázad, labor camp. I was taken. I had to. Maybe I.
What?
To Jasberim. Over there, after 3 or 4 weeks being there, we were taken to Poland, Ottinia. That's about 30 miles from Stanislav, where we were working by digging ditches for the German soldiers. We lived in stables, spread it out in the town, and we were treated over there quite well. Food wasn't very bad, and we just had to work a certain amount of digging every day. After when the Russian offensive started, we started to run. But those moments were really very hard because they were using the Katyushas, and we were in the second line, in the artillery line, and we suffered over there a lot of casualties. And we had to pull the heavy the heavy cannons out of the mud, because the horses weren't strong enough to pull them out, so we had to pull them with chains. After that happened, we started to run, because everybody ran. We ran through those towns, where I remember one instance, and I think it's Bohorojan, the name of the town, where we got to a river. There was a bridge also, but the Jews weren't allowed to cross the bridge. We had to go through the river, and remember many of our fellows, I mean the Jewish boys, were killed at that place because they were hit with their gun, the other side of the gun, with the rifles from the Germans and from the Hungarians, and with other sticks, and were thrown into the river and were left there. After a few days, I think so, we arrived to a place in the Carpathian Mountains. That's where we were stopped, and they started to organize again the groups. We had for the first 3 days, we didn't get any food or water, nothing. But at the same time, we had to work to chop the heavy pine trees, or from the top of the mountain, or from the valley, to bring them up and build a road that the Hungarian and the Germans should be able to move there. After 3 days, we started to get food, very low quality. We had only beans and peas filled with rocks. And later on, we had a little soup also already, but sanitary condition was very, very bad. We lived under the sky. We built till we built ourselves little huts from the leaves of the trees and so far, but conditions were very bad. We were eaten up by lice. We were completely without shoes. The rest of the clothing were all torn. Instead of shoes, we used the peels of the pine tree. We peeled the pine tree, and from that we tied kind of soles that we shouldn't walk on the bare soil, because in the morning hours till about 12 was frozen. Later on, around noontime, came out the sun and melted and got a little bit warmer. After a few weeks being there, we started to move towards civilization, towards Hungary, Czechoslovakia and Hungary. On the way back, we slept over in a town called Stage, in Czech, Tachovo. In the early morning hours, we decided, 4 boys, that we will escape from this battalion. So we did. We got up early morning and we started to walk on the road. Later on, we catched up with a group of Hungarian soldiers. They were walking and driving cattle. So we accompanied them and make believe that we belonged between them. Later on, we saw a train not far from the road with Jews on it, with Jewish laborers, that they wear their yellow bands. So we walked over and we stayed with them. From there, we went to Várpalota, that's already in Hungary. But on the way, we stopped at a place, Losonc, Hungarian town. It seemed that a lot of Jews lived over there. We were taken to the synagogue, where Jewish clothing was confiscated, and other Jewish property was confiscated, and we were given over there clothing and shoes. From there we continued to Várpalota, and we stayed over there till about November, and the end of we stayed over there till about December. Must have been around New Year's, when we were packed in cattle wagon, in a train, and were taken to a Hungarian town, Harka, that's near the Austrian border. That's where we started to work, diggings and get anti-tanks. It means very wide and deep ditches, holes, potholes, whatever you call them. In May, soon the war ended. In 45, was in May the 8th, I was liberated by the Russian army, was left over at that park we lived also in a barn without walls, and suffered from a lot of cold, and hunger, and I was left over there because I had flak typhus. The Russian army took me to a sanatorium in Sopron, where I was 2, 3, maybe more weeks, I don't remember exactly, till I cooperated a little bit, and then I left, heading for my hometown. When I arrived to my hometown, and I looked from the street that somebody else lives in our house, I turned around and walked away. And I crossed the border to Romania. It's only about 6 miles away. Over there, I heard that I have a brother. Later I found him, and later I heard that 2 of my sisters are returning, are alive. So we settled over there for a while, for about 6 months. Then I went back to Czechoslovakia. Then I knew already that my parents and the rest of my brothers and sisters weren't anymore alive. In Czechoslovakia, I lived about 1 year in Tepličano. Then I had to leave because it was threatened from the Russians that whoever doesn't have the Czech citizenship back will be taken to Russia. So I escaped, went to Germany. I lived over there about 1 year. I got tired of doing nothing, living from whatever we had received from the hires. I went and registered myself to work in a coal mine in Belgium. After being there for 3 months, I still had the right, according to the contract, to leave the place, and they had to transfer me back to the place from where they took me. It means back to Germany. I did it because while being in Belgium, I heard that my sister with her husband went to Czechoslovakia, to Prague. I decided that I'm going back. So I was taken back to Germany. From there, I smuggled through the border, and I went to Czechoslovakia, to Prague, where I met my sister and her husband. In Prague, I lived again about a year, and I decided that I'm going to leave. I went to Germany, and from Germany, I registered myself. I don't remember what was the reason that we went with a long caravan, about 25 or 30 trucks, all youngsters, to Italy. From Italy, we were taken to France, and I stayed there till Israel became a state, till the declaration of the State of Israel. At that day, I said, now I know where I'm going. I went, and the very same day, I was already on a boat, of course, as a tourist with a false passport. And And May the 22nd, I was already in Israel. It means in 1948. The boat was a luxury boat, French boat, Providence. Of course, all of them were registered. All the passengers were only young boys who were registered as business people or tourists or etc. No immigrants. And all of them had to be dressed nicely and neatly. Shouldn't be any suspicious that we are actually going to be soldiers. And we arrived at Haifa. The last English warship was still there. They still came up to our boat to check everybody, the passports, but we saw that it's actually only formality. In one of the corners, in the same room, in one of the corners were the English soldiers checking our passport, and the other corner were the Israelis officials who says, now you can tell me your real name, who you are and what you are. And that's it. From there, of course, from the boat, I was taken to a military camp, leaving my belongings in that camp where we were trained in 4 days. You want all the details? Well, then in 1958, I decided that I come to the United States to join my brother and my sister, one of my sisters.
Questionnaire number 6. How old were you when you were drafted to the labor force?
21 years. So
When were you drafted?
in April of 1944,
Did you know you were to serve as forced laborer in the Hungarian army?
yes.
Describe the unit in which you served.
The unit was, the number, or
How many were Jews?
all Jews. They were all Jews. They were all Jews.
Who were the officers in charge?
The officers in charge were Hungarian officers, soldiers.
Were there any non-Jews among the forced labor soldiers?
No, none.
What was the attitude of the officers towards the Jews?
The attitude was not very good, not very fine. Some of them were really very mean. Remembering back that some places was in the last labor camp in Harka, that there were young teenagers, 16, 17-year-old boys with rifles looking for chances to hit us wherever they could for no reason.
Do you remember any specific stories that you can tell me showing when they acted badly or when they acted well?
I don't know how to answer that. There were between them good ones too. For example, one young boy that he was forced to join the Hungarian SS group, you call them the Nyilases. He says, he introduced himself, he said his name and from where he is. I remember just the town, Szeged. He said, whenever I'm around you, you don't have to do a thing, just make believe you're working. But whenever the others will come, I will scream and yell at you. And after that, then you have to work, you show that you're really working. But this was only one instance. The rest were mean and no humanity at all in them.
When were you sent to Russia?
I wasn't in Russia. I was in Poland. I wasn't in Russia.
Where exactly did you work?
I worked in Otynia, that's about 30 miles from 30 kilometers from Stanislav, and in the second line, that's the artillery line, digging ditches for the German soldiers.
Can you tell us about meeting with the local population, either the local Jews or the German soldiers or the Russian, or well, there were no Russian prisoners of war, but about the local population?
We did not meet any local population. We weren't allowed. We were taken by guard to work, and we were taken guarded back from work to the house. We weren't allowed to leave the premises. So we did not have any contact with the local population.
How high was the mortality, the death rate among the men?
I don't know. The deaths occurred on the way when we were driven back from the Russian soldiers when the big offensive was. There were quite a few deaths, and there were many deaths at the Hungarian in Hungary already in Kharkov, where people died. Died from flak typhus. I remember the friend next to me, he really died.
Did you see anything of the destruction of Jewish communities?
Well, we saw destruction. As I mentioned before, we stopped in Losons, and we were taken to the synagogue to get Jewish clothing. So, and in Otynia also, while we were walking to work, we walked through the town. We saw the doors, the sign of the mezuzahs on the doors. It means that there were a Jewish population over there.
Yeah, but did you see any killing of the Jewish population in the towns? In other words, did you see any deportations or any killing in the towns?
No, I didn't see any killing or deportations because there were no Jews. They were all taken away.
They already had left?
They have left. There were only our labor force. I mean, these Jews were over there.
You were never captured by the Russians?
No.
You were never with the partisans?
No.
You never came back? Did you come back to Hungary after the war?
After the war, yes. I came back. I visited Budapest, where I met my two sisters when they returned.
So would you read to yourself question 9 and then... How and when were you released from the labor force?
I was released from the labor force. I was left over in Kharkov with high temperature, lying in flak typhus. It was in after the war, May 8, 1945.
Questionnaire number 2 for labor camp Otynia. Date of arrival in the camp? About?
I can't remember. Must have been in May or June. I don't remember the date.
In what year?
1944.
By what? From where?
From Yazberin. We were taken by train.
Did you arrive alone or with any member of your family?
I wasn't alone. There was a whole battalion, but none of the members from the family were with me.
What had happened to the members of your family?
My members of the family, they were departed in 1944, also around April, from their hometown. It means my parents and seven of my brothers and sisters. Because the older brother was also in Budapest. He was mobilized in 1943 because he was 1 year older than me, but he never came back.
There was no selection upon when you got to this camp?
No selection.
Can you describe the location of the camp?
Tinia? The location of the camp at Tinia, we lived in...
No, where the camp is.
Well, it wasn't, we were scattered in the town, in this barn or whatever, stable you say. We were 25 or 30 or 10 people, and the next stable, again, the same amount, more or less.
What kind of a guard system did the camp have?
The guard system was the German Wehrmacht.
When was the camp set up?
Well, we don't know. Whenever we came, we arrived there, most probably that time, in 44.
Do you know the name of the commander?
No, I haven't got a slight idea.
Do you know the names of any of the officers?
No, I don't.
Do you know the names of any of the men that you can remember?
I don't remember not even one single name of my friends with whom really I shared the tragedies over there. I don't remember a name.
Can you tell me what the officers were like?
Well, over there, the Wehrmacht were the meanest. Some of them were mean, but in general, they were all right. They treated us well as long as we did our work, daily work.
How many Germans guarded the camp?
Every 25 or 30 people, we had 2 or 3 Germans.
Were there any non-German guards?
No.
Can you remember any incidents that could be used to accuse individual Nazis as war criminals?
Well, I don't know.
What were the ages? They were all men where you were, right?
Yes, all men.
They were all Jews.
All Jews.
What were their ages?
The ages was between 20 and 25.
About how many do you think there were?
Oh, you were there about 1,000.
And do you know where they came from? Which places?
Well, from all over, Hungarian and Czech.
You don't know from which specific towns?
Towns. We had many of them from Budapest, from the Debrecen, from many towns.
What did the work consist of?
The work was digging ditches for the German soldiers in the artillery line.
Did you have capos?
No.
Describe the food.
The food was good. We had second-grade food. It means the Germans had first class, we had second class, and the Hungarian army in that area had third-class food. Was really, it's unbelievable, but that's the truth.
Describe the daily routine.
The routine, it was, they got up in the morning, we had our breakfast, and we were taken to the field, to the front, to make the diggings. When we finished our amount,
Quota?
Quota of diggings, we were able to help for other men, for our next fellow worker, and then we were taken back to the camp for supper.
Were people killed?
No, in that area were killed.
Were there any attempts to escape?
No, there were no attempts.
Was there an organized underground?
No,
Was there a planned resistance?
no,
Were there any contacts with the outside?
no contact.
Was there any attempt at cultural activity?
No,
Were there any children?
no.
What were the relations between the Jewish inmates? Did they get along with each other, or did they have trouble? Or
No, the relation was very good because everybody was in trouble. Everybody was in the same bad situation, so we were all friends.
did you receive help from your fellow inmates?
Whenever was needed, we received, yes.
What kind?
There wasn't special. There wasn't, any, how you call it, special thing that, but if it was needed, was given. I don't remember. But
Were you ever sick in that place?
in that camp, no, I wasn't.
Was there any medical attention of any kind?
Yes,
What kind?
there was. If somebody didn't feel well, had fever, headaches, he got medication, aspirin.
It was official or it was secret?
I think it was official.
It was done by Germans or
By Germans.
By Germans. What kind of clothing did you wear?
Over there we had civilian clothing.
What kind of sanitary conditions were there?
Sanitary conditions wasn't the best because we slept in the stables. But we had with one cover.
Did you ever receive mail?
No, never.
Did you ever receive packages?
No.
Questionnaire number 2 for labor camp which has no name in Carpathian Mountains. The date of arrival in the camp?
I don't remember what date it was.
About.
July, August, or
The
maybe
summer?
later, or September in 44, yes.
Summer of
May-
44. And
maybe.
From where were you coming?
We were coming from Otinia,
By what means
Which-
of transportation?
or by walking and running. We had to run and keep up because otherwise we were hit. If we wouldn't have run, we were hit by the Germans or by the Hungarian soldiers.
There was still no member of your family with you.
No,
Was there a selection when you arrived in this place?
no selection.
Can you describe the location? Describe the location and the size of the camp.
The location was in the mountains, the wilderness, in the forest, and the size was spread out. I don't know.
What kind of a guard system did it have?
We had over there Hungarian guard system from the UTAS group. UTAS means they build the roads.
When was the camp set up?
Well, the camp,
When you got there? or before?
when we got there, we had to set up some kind of camps, huts, or whatever you call them.
Do you remember the name of the commander?
No, I don't remember.
Do you remember the names of any of the officers or any of the men?
No, none.
No. Can you tell me what they were like?
The meanest people that could exist. It's known. If a Hungarian will say you were by the UTAS, under the UTAS, how you call it, felügyelet alatt, supervision, that you know that they aren't from the gentle people.
There were no Germans guarding the camp?
No.
Do you know how many, was there anything besides Hungarian guarding the camp?
No.
Do you know how many Hungarians there were guarding the camp?
I don't remember. I don't know how many, but there were quite a few.
Do you remember any incidents that could be used to accuse any individuals as war criminals?
Well, I would say all of them were war criminals over there. All without kivétel, no? Exception.
But do you remember any specific incidents?
I remember very bad incidents, sad incidents. For the first 3 days, we didn't get any food or drink. We had to work very hard. If somebody tried to bend down to pick up some grass to eat, he was hit right away with a club, stick, or with a gun on his, wherever they were able to reach.
What was the composition of the inmates? How many were there?
I don't remember really how many we were over there, because I can't remember if we were over 100 or how many hundreds, I don't know.
The ages?
Ages, they were all between 20 and 25, more or less.
They were all men?
All men.
And they were all Jews?
All Jews.
And from what towns did they come?
They came from all over Hungary, from many towns.
What did the work consist of?
The work consisted of chopping off big, heavy pine trees and carrying them from the valley up or from the hill down. Two men had to carry one of those heavy trees and build roads out of them.
Did you have capos?
No.
What kind of, could you describe the food?
Food, as I said, in the first 3 days we didn't get anything. Then started, one day we had beans, and the next day we had peas. And the same went on and on, but between the beans and peas there were rocks, pebbles. And later we had a little soup also.
Can you describe the daily routine in the camp?
The routine was working from the morning till late in the evening. Just stopping just for the meal.
Were people killed?
Maybe there were some instances that they were killed because we were treated very badly over there.
If they were killed, how were they killed?
Well, they were killed the most primitive way, or with a club stick, or with the other end of the gun,
The butt of a gun.
butt of a gun.
When?
When? While trying to get some food from the ground, some grass, or by not being able to carry those heavy trees.
Were there any attempts to escape?
I don't know.
Do you know if there was an organized underground?
No.
You don't know, or there was not?
I don't know if there was.
Do you know if there was any plan for resistance?
No, there wasn't.
Do you know if there were any contacts with the outside?
No.
No, there were not? Or
No contacts.
No contacts. Were there any attempts at cultural activity?
No.
Were there any children any place?
No children.
What were the relations between the Jewish inmates?
The relation was good.
There was
Friendly.
no antagonism between people from different towns
No,
or things like
no.
this? It was only Hungarian Jews?
Hungarian-speaking Jews.
Yeah. And there were no non-Jews?
No.
Did you receive help from fellow inmates?
If it was needed, I received. But
Were you ever, Were you ever ill in that camp?
No,
Was there any medical attention?
no,
What kind of clothing did you wear?
no. The clothing was torn, shoes we didn't have at all. We used from the pine tree,
Papyrus?
the pine.
Questionnaire number 2 for labor camp Harka. When did you arrive in the camp?
We arrived over there, must have been around New Year's, at the end of December or in the beginning of January in 1945.
From where did you come?
We came from Varparata.
By what method of transportation?
Transportation was by train stuffed in cattle wagons, 70, 80 or maybe more people in one wagon.
Was there a selection when you came to this camp?
No selection.
Where was the camp located?
The camp was located in the town, in the small town of Harka, scattered to every house, 20, 25 or more people living in barns without walls.
And this is on the Austrian border.
Yes.
What was the size of the camp?
Well, I can't say the size because I never had a chance to see how big of the town was.
What about the guard system?
The guards, we had over there Hungarian soldiers and also from the Hungarian SS group, you call them the Nyilas.
Was the camp set up when you got there, or were you the first ones?
Well, I guess we were the first ones.
Do you know the name of the commander?
No, I don't.
Any of the officers or any of the men?
No, I don't remember.
How many Germans guarded the camp?
There were no Germans over there.
How many non-Germans?
I don't know, but there were many of them. Many.
Do you remember any incidents that could be used to accuse individual Nazis as war criminals?
Well, yes, we were treated very badly. We were hit many times for no reason, just for fun of it, because they had a kick out of it, these young teenagers who guarded us. And they were criminals. They are considered as criminals.
What was the composition of the inmates? How many were there, do you know?
I don't remember how many.
They were also from 20 to 25 years old?
They were even older. Over there in that place, there were older people also.
Up to what age, do you
Up
think?
to, I remember one person met his son over there. He must have been around 60.
They were all Jews?
All Jews.
From what places did they come?
They came also from all over.
But from
From
Hungary?
all over, but Hungarian-speaking people.
What did the work consist of?
The work consisted of digging heavy, big trenches, anti-tank. It means when a tank wants to pass over there, he goes in, he won't be able to get out of it.
Were there capos?
No capos.
What kind of food?
Food was very low, bad food.
What was the daily routine?
Daily routine was get up early morning and come home late from work.
Were people killed?
I guess they were killed also, not just, there were deaths, but deaths from the flak typhus, but I think there were people killed also over there.
Do you know by what? How? And were
By-
they shot or were they?
By shot also, yes, they were by shots, now I remember already, and just by the gun butts and by club sticks.
When?
Well, while working. while at work, or
And
they
by-
did not perform the work right wherever they wanted, or for no reason.
By whom?
By these guards, Hungarian, Nyilas.
Were there any attempts to escape?
No,
Was there an organized underground?
no,
Was there any planned resistance?
no.
Were there any contacts with the outside?
Some people had some contact with the outside, but it was forbidden, so some
Do you know
people
how they
took.
managed?
I don't know how, but some had some contact.
You didn't.
No, I didn't have.
Were there any attempts at cultural activity?
No,
Were there any children?
no children.
What were the relations between the Jewish inmates?
The relation between the Jewish inmates was good. Everybody kept together.
Were there any antagonisms or hostility between groups from different towns?
No hostility against each other.
Did you receive help from fellow inmates?
Yes. Sometimes a slice of bread or any other.
Were you ill in this place?
Yes, that's where I got ill. I got flak typhus.
How did you recover?
I was recovered. I was taken by the Russian army to Sopron in a sanatorium.
Was there any medical attention in the camp?
No medical attention.
What kind of clothing did you wear?
Civilian clothes.
What kind of sanitary conditions were there?
Sanitary conditions were bad.
Did anybody
No.
receive mail,
No,
packages?
no packages.